servants of Allah, fasting has two pillars. Without these two pillars, fasting is not valid. The first pillar is abstaining from things that break the fast. And evidence is the statement of Allah, and eat and drink until the white thread of dawn becomes distinct to you from the black thread of night. Then complete the fast until the nightfall. Complete the fast until Maghrib, not until Isha like the Rawafid. Prophet ﷺ in authentic ahadith and actions of all the Sahaba, that by the coming of Maghrib, the sunset of the sun, they will break the fast, and he encouraged the Ummah to hasten breaking the fast as soon as Maghrib comes in. But the Rawafid, they want to keep it. May Allah Azza wa Jal continue to make them suffer. They want to keep it till Isha. You follow the course of your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The second pillar is niyyah, intention. The evidence for this is the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as in the two Sahih and authority from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, where he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, actions are but by intentions, and each person will have what he intended. The intention should be made for every night of the month of Ramadan. And some of Ahl al-Ilm said one intention before the first night, before the first day of Ramadan will suffice. Unless you break fasting due to an illness or travel, then you repeat the intention. And some of the people of knowledge said you make it every night, anytime during the night between Maghrib and before Fajr. And as long as you place the intention that every day in Ramadan you will be fasting, or you waking up for suhoor, that is, you place the intention, or you place in the niyyah before going to sleep. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith narrated by Hafsa, may Allah be pleased with her, whoever does not intend to fast before Fajr, then there is no fast for him. In another narration, there is no fast for whoever does not make it obligatory at night, meaning sets the niyyah at night. And the matter is easy, barakallah feekum. You know you'll be fasting the month of Ramadan. You waking up for suhoor is because you're fasting the next day. Even if you don't wake up for suhoor, you intending to wake up for suhoor, is so that because you are fasting the next day. That is the niyyah. And niyyah is to be in the heart. It is not prescribed to utter it for any deed. Intention is not uttered on the tongue, but rather is placed in the heart as the actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Also, the beginning of the month of Ramadan is proven by one of the two things in which there is no third to them. First is citing the christen. So when people see the christen of Ramadan, it becomes obligatory for them to fast. Because Allah the Exalted says, whoever among you witnesses the month, sees it, let him fast it. In the two Sahih and authority of Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, he said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when you see the christen, then fast. And when you see, meaning the christen of Shawwal, then break your fast, end Ramadan. And it is indeed, and if it is hidden from you, you can't see due to clouds, then estimate it, meaning complete the month 30 days. And it is confirmed, the sighting is confirmed by a just, accountable Muslim, who is just, who's accountable. According to the hadith of Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the people went out to sight the christen at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they couldn't sight it. So I informed the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam that I had seen it. So he fasted and ordered the people to fast. The second option, completing the month 30 days if the christen is not sighted. Let it be Sha'ban 30 days if the christen of Ramadan is not sighted, or Ramadan 30 days if the christen of Shawwal is not sighted, or is prevented from us to see due to clouds or the like. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, fast when you sight it and break fast when you sight it. If it is hidden from you, then complete the month or the number of Sha'ban at 30 days. It is known from what has been mentioned that it is not permissible to act upon the calculation method in the beginning of Ramadan or the ending of Ramadan. And that the calculation method is not to be taken into account of the beginning and ending of the month. It does not prove the beginning of the month, nor does it prove its end. And know, servants of Allah, that fasting is obligatory upon every sane adult Muslim who is able and who is a resident and who's free from anything that could prevent him from fasting, such for women being free from menstruation or postpartum bleeding. And reaching puberty occurs in one of the three ways: either receiving wet dreams by the person reaches puberty, and fasting becomes obligatory, or the growth of pubic hair, or reaching the age of 15 if none of these signs are witnessed. And the female has a fourth sign, which is the beginning of her menstrual bleeding. If these signs come or appear, or one of them appear upon the servant, then fasting becomes obligatory upon him, and so prayers, and so the rest of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the pen starts moving for him. His deeds are written, the good are written, and the bad are written. A lot of our young ones, especially high schoolers, have reached that condition and they don't fast in Ramadan under the excuse that he goes to school. This is not a legitimate excuse. If anything happens, the pen started moving on that individual. He would meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without fulfilling a pillar of the pillars of Islam, which is Siyam, or two pillars of the pillars of Islam, which is also Salah, prayers. So if these signs are present, that the servant begins his fasting, and the angels have already started writing his deeds, نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى لنا ولكم السلام. The things that invalidate the fasting or break the fast are divided into two categories. Category one, what invalidates the fast and requires making up. Number one, eating and drinking while remembering and purposely. But if someone eats and drinks out of forgetfulness, he is to complete his fast and there is nothing due on him. But if he purposely drinks or eats, his fasting is nullified. According to statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever forgets while he's fasting and eats or drinks, let him complete his fast. For Allah has fed him and Allah has given him drink. Number two, vomiting intentionally vomiting. Whoever intentionally vomits, his fasting is nullified. But if he's overcome by vomiting, his fast is not invalidated and he does not have to make it up. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever vomits involuntarily does not have to make up the fast. But whoever vomits purposely, intentionally, puts his hand down to vomit, must make up the fast. Number two, menstruation or postpartum, bleeding for a woman. Whoever menstruates or gives birth, even in the last moments of the day of Ramadan before Maghrib, her fast is invalidated and she must make up that day. Based on the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is it not the case that when a woman menstruates, she does not pray or fast? They said yes. Number four, masturbation, which is for someone to deliberately and intentionally ejaculate semen by hand, by touch, by kissing, or gazing and looking. And that because it contradicts the purpose of fasting. The Prophet ﷺ stated that Allah the Exalted says, He leaves His food, drink, and desire for my sake. Hesitation, number five, hesitation and intention. Meaning, while he's fasting, he says, I'm going to break my fast. Even if he doesn't eat or drink anything, his fasting is nullified. He needs to make up that day. He must. If he intends while he's fasting that he will break his fast, he says, I'm breaking my fast, and he sets the niyyah, then his fast becomes immediately invalidated, and he must make up that fast. For the Prophet ﷺ said, actions are based upon intention, and every person will be rewarded based on what he intended. The second section of what invalidates or spoils the fast is that what invalidates the fast and requires making up and expiation, kafara. And that is sexual intercourse. So if someone has sexual intercourse with his wife during the day of Ramadan, he sleeps with his wife. Now his fasting is no longer intact, and he receives one of the highest form of expiation. So his fasting, he needs to repeat up that day. And he needs to also provide kafara, an expiation to free a slave. And if he cannot, then he fasts 2 consecutive Hijri month without breaking between them. And if he can, then he needs to feed 60 poor people. And it's in this order. It is not by choice. It is in this order. These things do not invalidate the fast unless the person is aware of the rulings. And the person purposely does that, with the exception of sleeping with one's wife during the day of Ramadan. The scholars have differed. Some of them said, even if he does not know the ruling, there is no way someone would forget during the day of Ramadan and sleep with his wife. Servants of Allah, the days are records for you, filled with what they have stored in them of good and evil. And on the day of resurrection, these records will be opened for you and will be opened to their owners. So the righteous will find in their records honor and dignity, and the sinners will find in their records regrets and remorse. Whoever desires the kingdom of paradise, let him abandon laziness. Let him stand in the darkness of the night to the light of the Quran. Let him combine fasting with fasting, for this life is fleeting. Life is but the company of Allah in the abode of safety, in the abode of paradise.